My dear friends, there comes a time when the winds shift, the tides turn, and the ground beneath us trembles. A time when the wise raise their voices, not to stir fear, but to awaken those who will listen. Today, that time is upon us. A warning has been sounded, not by just anyone, but by a man whose wisdom has guided generations through storms of uncertainty. He has seen what many refuse to acknowledge, and now he speaks with urgency. The road ahead is not smooth, my friends. There are shadows on the horizon, signs written in the language of the past, pointing to dangers that have destroyed fortunes, hopes, and dreams. But listen closely, because within every warning, there is a path to salvation. Within every storm, a lesson. Within every trial, a choice. You are here today for a reason. You are listening because something inside you knows that being prepared is not just an option. It is a necessity. So open your heart, clear your mind, and let the truth sink in. What you do with this knowledge may determine not just your future, but the legacy you leave behind. Will you heed the warning, or will you wait until it's too late? There are moments in history when the air feels different, when the stillness before the storm is not just a passing breeze, but a warning from something greater than ourselves. We live in such a moment right now. The signs are there for those with eyes to see. The tremors beneath our feet are not of imagination, but of reality, shifting and moving, preparing to shake the very foundations of what we believe to be stable. Think back to the times when the world was caught off guard, when markets tumbled, when fortunes were erased overnight, when empires of wealth crumbled into dust. Every great collapse had its signs, and every great disaster had its warnings. Some saw them, many ignored them, and history tells us what became of both. You see, the storm does not come without whispering its arrival. The wind does not howl without first stirring the leaves. And right now, the whispers have turned to murmurs, the murmurs to shouts, and the leaves are no longer just stirring. The patterns are forming, the waves are rising, and those who have lived long enough to witness such moments before are stepping forward, urging us to listen. This is not fear-mongering. This is not panic. This is wisdom speaking, the kind of wisdom that comes not from theory, not from speculation, but from the raw, hard-earned experience of those who have seen it all before. The kind of wisdom that is ignored at great peril. Look at the world around you. Look at the debt that stretches beyond imagination, at the reckless hands playing games with numbers too vast to comprehend. Look at the unchecked greed, the overconfidence of those who believe they are untouchable, the complacency of those who assume that the good times will roll on forever. These are not signs of strength, my friends. These are echoes of the past, repeating their solemn warnings. And yet so many remain blind, not because they cannot see, but because they choose not to, because it is easier to believe that all will be well than to face the harsh reality that trouble is brewing. It is easier to cling to comfort than to prepare for hardship. But history does not reward those who ignore its lessons. It does not show mercy to those who refuse to listen. The storm on the horizon is not a possibility. It is an inevitability. The question is not whether it will come, but when. And when it does, will you be among those who saw the signs, who heard the warnings, who made the difficult but necessary choices to stand firm in the face of the coming trials? Or will you be among those caught unprepared, looking back with regret, wishing you had heeded the call before it was too late? There are voices in this world that carry more weight than others, voices shaped not by fleeting opinions, but by years of experience, by trials endured and wisdom earned. These are voices that do not speak for the sake of being heard, but because they have something invaluable to say. And when such a voice rises, it is not to be ignored. One of those voices belongs to a man whose name is synonymous with financial mastery, a man who has witnessed the rise and fall of markets, the expansion and collapse of economies, and the making and breaking of fortunes. He is not a theorist who speaks from the safety of distance. He is a participant, a guide, a steward of knowledge gained from living through history's greatest financial storms. His words are not guesswork. They are the product of seeing what others fail to see. For decades, he has studied patterns, behaviors, and cycles. He has seen how greed blinds the ambitious, how overconfidence poisons the judgment of even the most intelligent minds, and how fear paralyzes those who wait too long to act. He understands the rhythm of the market like a sailor understands the sea. He knows when the waters are calm and when the undercurrents are. And right now he is warning that the tide is changing, that something dangerous lies ahead. But warnings, no matter how wise, are often ignored. History has shown that again and again. People dismiss the possibility of disaster until it is at their doorstep. They convince themselves that this time is different, that the old rules no longer apply, that the past is no longer a reliable guide to the future. But the truth is, the laws of economics, like the laws of nature, do not bend for wishful thinking. They do not change simply because we want them to. They remain as they always have, guiding the fate of those who choose to follow them and punishing those who ignore them. Consider what happens when an experienced captain warns of an approaching storm. Some heed his words, preparing their ships, reinforcing their sails, and bracing for impact. Others laugh, basking in the momentary calm, dismissing the idea that the winds could ever turn against them. But when the storm arrives, it does not discriminate between those who believed and those who doubted. It simply does what storms do. It destroys the unprepared, and it rewards those who were wise enough to take action before it was too late. This is how it has always been. This is how it will always be. Those who have seen the past clearly can see the future more plainly than most. And when they speak, when they sound the alarm, when they say, beware, it is not to create fear, but to extend a lifeline. It is not to stir panic, but to open the eyes of those willing to listen. There is no arrogance in experience, only knowledge earned through time. And there is no greater gift than wisdom shared freely by those who have nothing to gain from warning others, only the hope that a few will listen, a few will prepare, a few will take the necessary steps to weather the coming storm. The rest will do what they always do: dismiss the warning, ignore the signs, and hope against all odds that somehow they will escape what history has proven to be unavoidable. There is a rhythm to history, a cycle that repeats itself time and time again, yet so many refuse to see it. The patterns are not hidden. They are written in bold letters across the pages of the past. But human nature, in its endless pursuit of comfort and certainty, convinces itself that each moment is unique, that the lessons of yesterday no longer apply to the challenges of today. And so the same mistakes are made, the same warnings ignored, and the same consequences suffered. There have been times of great prosperity where the world felt invincible, where fortunes were built on the idea that growth would never end. But those times have always been followed by moments of reckoning. The roaring markets of the past, whether in real estate, stocks, or industries built on speculation, have all, without exception, met their days of collapse. And each time there were voices that tried to warn the people, voices that spoke with wisdom and experience, only to be drowned out by the arrogance of those who believed they had mastered fate. It happened in 1929, when a decade of excess ended in the most devastating crash the world had ever seen. People had convinced themselves that the stock market could only go up, that prosperity was limitless. The warnings were there, the signs were clear, but greed had taken hold and reason was abandoned. Then, like a thief in the night, reality struck. Fortunes were erased overnight, families were destroyed, and the world was plunged into darkness. It happened again in 2008. When blind confidence in the housing market led to reckless behavior. Banks lent money without concern. Investors poured their wealth into what they believed to be an unshakable foundation, and once again, the same old lies were repeated. This time is different. But it was not different. The house of cards collapsed, and those who had ignored history suffered the price. Now here we are once more. The details may change, the industries may differ, but the story remains the same. The warning signs are here, plain as day for anyone willing to see them. Debt is spiraling out of control, markets are inflated beyond reason, and those in power continue to assure the world that all is well. They say, trust in the system, even as the foundation beneath it weakens. They tell you to ignore history, to believe that the lessons of the past no longer apply, but the truth remains unchanged. Cycles do not break. They repeat. The same arrogance, the same blindness, the same refusal to accept reality. It has all happened before, and it is happening again. Those who have lived long enough to see these cycles turn understand that what is coming is not a possibility, but an inevitability. They have seen this play out too many times to believe otherwise. They know that when people stop listening, when the belief in endless prosperity takes hold, that is when the fall is near. But even now, in the face of these undeniable truths, most will continue on as if nothing is wrong. They will ignore the tremors beneath their feet. They will dismiss the voices of warning. They will tell themselves that they are safe, and for a little while longer they may be. But history is not kind to those who refuse to learn from it. It does not reward those who choose ignorance over wisdom. It does not spare those who believe they are above the laws that have governed every rise and fall before them. Look around. The same mistakes are being made. The same greed is in control. The same warnings are being spoken. And just as before, they are being ignored. Those who fail to see the pattern will suffer the consequences of their own blindness. Those who do not learn from the past are doomed to repeat it. There is a cost to ignoring the truth, a price that must be paid. Not in words or theories, but in real, undeniable consequences. It is easy to dismiss warnings when the sun is shining, when the world feels safe, when the comfort of today convinces us that tomorrow will look exactly the same. But that comfort is a dangerous illusion. It lulls people into complacency, blinds them to reality, and leads them straight into disaster. History is filled with those who refuse to listen, who convinced themselves that things would always remain as they were. They did not see the cracks forming beneath them. They did not believe that danger could reach them. And when the collapse came, they were left broken, wondering how they had missed what was right in front of them. The cost of ignorance is not abstract. It is not theoretical. It is the ruined lives of those who thought they were safe. It is the businesses that disappear overnight. It is the retirements that vanish, the homes that are lost, the dreams that are shattered. It is the weight of regret, the realization that the warnings were there all along, but they chose to ignore them. Look back at every financial collapse, every economic crisis, and you will see the same pattern. Before the fall, there is denial. People convince themselves that nothing bad can happen because they want to believe it. They dismiss those who try to warn them. They mock the voices of experience. They laugh at the idea that the world they know could change so quickly. And then it happens. The market turns, the losses begin, and the laughter stops. By the time reality sets in, it is too late. The opportunities to prepare have passed. The doors that were once open have slammed shut. The ones who ignored the warnings are left scrambling, desperate for solutions that no longer exist. And in that moment, when they realized the truth, they would give anything to go back and do things differently. But the past does not offer second chances. The price must be paid. What makes this even more tragic is that the warning signs were never hidden. They were clear for anyone willing to look. The debt piling up, the reckless decisions made by those in power, the unsustainable growth fueled by nothing but hope. These are not small signals. They are flashing red lights, screaming that trouble is coming. And yet, many will choose to look the other way, believing that ignorance will somehow protect them. But ignorance does not protect. It only ensures that when disaster strikes, you will be among the ones who suffer most. It does not delay the inevitable. It only robs you of the chance to prepare. It is not an escape. It is a trap. And while those who refuse to see the truth will face the full weight of the consequences, there will be others who listened, who understood, who took the necessary steps before it was too late. They will not be spared from the storm, but they will be ready for it. They will not avoid the trials ahead, but they will survive them. The difference between those who endure and those who fall is not luck. It is wisdom. It is the willingness to accept the truth, no matter how uncomfortable. It is the courage to prepare when others refuse to. It is the understanding that reality does not bend to wishful thinking, and that the cost of ignoring the truth is always greater than the cost of facing it. Crisis has a way of revealing truth. It strips away illusions, exposes weaknesses, and forces reality upon those who refuse to see it before. But within every crisis, there is something else, something powerful, something that only those with clear vision can recognize: opportunity. Throughout history, the greatest fortunes were not built during times of peace and prosperity, but in the midst of turmoil. When the world was crumbling, when panic consumed the masses, when everything seemed lost, this was when the few who understood the deeper patterns of history stepped forward. They did not run from the storm, they braced for it. They did not despair, they positioned themselves. They did not follow the crowd into destruction, they looked beyond the chaos and saw what others could not. It is easy to see disaster and feel fear. That is the natural reaction of those who have not prepared, those who do not understand that crisis is not the end, it is a turning point. Fear blinds people to possibilities. It causes them to retreat, to freeze, to act irrationally. But those who stay calm, those who understand that history rewards the prepared, are the ones who rise while others fall. Look back at the great financial crashes, at the collapses that reshaped economies. In each of these moments, fortunes were lost, but they were also made. While some saw nothing but destruction, others saw a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to buy when everything was cheap, to invest when others were afraid, to position themselves for the inevitable recovery that follows every downturn. This is not about taking advantage of suffering. It is about understanding that in every fall, there is a chance to build again, stronger, wiser, and better than before. Those who prepare before the crisis do not just survive it, they emerge from it in a position of strength. They are the ones who rebuild, who restore, who lead the way forward. But to do that, you must be ready before the storm arrives. You cannot wait until the chaos begins. You cannot wait until the markets have crashed, until businesses have closed, until panic has taken over. By then it is too late. The time to position yourself is now, before the rest of the world wakes up to the reality that is coming. That means making the hard choices today. It means stepping away from the illusions that keep people complacent. It means thinking differently than the crowd, resisting the temptation to believe that things will always stay the way they are. It means listening to wisdom instead of noise, acting on knowledge instead of emotion. Most people will not do this. They will ignore the warnings. They will cling to the belief that good times will last forever. And when the collapse comes, they will be among the ones scrambling, desperate, unprepared. But a few, those who see beyond the moment, those who understand that history rewards those who act with foresight, will be ready. These are the ones who will stand firm while others fall. The ones who will seize the opportunities hidden within the chaos. The ones who will not only survive, but thrive in the aftermath. Because in every crisis, there is always a choice: to be consumed by fear, or to step forward with clarity, to watch helplessly as the world shifts, or to take control of your own future. There is a moment when hesitation becomes the most dangerous choice of all. A moment when waiting is no longer a strategy, but a mistake with consequences that cannot be undone. That moment is now. Too many people believe they have time. They tell themselves they will act when the signs become undeniable, when the warnings turn into disasters, when the losses begin to mount. But by then, the window of opportunity has already closed. The chance to prepare, to protect, to position oneself for what is coming, gone. What remains is only regret, the heavy realization that action should have been taken when the world was still calm. The signs are already here. The warnings have already been given. The voices of experience are speaking louder than ever before. The patterns of history are unfolding in real time, and yet most will do nothing. They will watch and wait, hoping that somehow, against all reason, things will fix themselves. They will tell themselves that maybe this time is different, that maybe the old rules no longer apply, that maybe the storm will pass without reaching them. Hope is not a strategy. Wishing does not change reality. The forces at play do not care about what people believe, about what they want to be true. Markets do not move based on emotions alone. Economies do not correct themselves simply because people are afraid. Reality follows its own course, and those who fail to acknowledge it will suffer its consequences. Action is what separates those who endure from those who fall. It is the single difference between those who look back with relief and those who look back with regret. The ones who survive are not the ones who waited until it was too late. They are the ones who understood that waiting is a luxury they could not afford. It is easy to do nothing. It is easy to dismiss the warnings, to tell yourself that there will always be time later. But the truth is, time is not an endless resource. Opportunities do not remain open forever. And once the moment passes, once the reality of the collapse takes hold, there will be no going back. The question is not whether change is coming. It is. The question is not whether there will be consequences for those who are unprepared. There will be. The only question that remains is whether you will be among those who saw the truth and acted, or among those who ignored it until it was too late. The time to act is not tomorrow. It is not next week. It is not when the crisis is already here. The time is now. The moment is now. The choice is now. There is a weight to responsibility, a burden that comes with knowing the truth before others see it. It is not easy to stand apart, to act when others are standing still, to prepare when the world tells you there is nothing to fear. But wisdom is not about doing what is easy. It is about doing what is right. It is about seeing what others refuse to see, about choosing to listen when the warnings are given, about understanding that the future does not wait for those who are too afraid to act. Many will dismiss the words of caution. They will shake their heads, laugh, and carry on as if nothing is wrong. They will convince themselves the danger is far away, that the world they know will continue unchanged. They will cling to comfort because it is easier than facing the truth. But comfort is fleeting, and illusions do not last forever. The time will come when those who ignored the warnings will realize their mistake, when the security they took for granted crumbles beneath them, when the wealth they thought would always be there disappears in an instant, when the systems they trusted fail them in ways they never imagined. And in that moment, they will wish they had listened. They will wish they had taken action before it was too late. But by then, their choices will no longer be their own. They will be at the mercy of forces beyond their control. No one can stop what is coming. No one can halt the turning of history's wheel. The cycles of the past are not myths. They are patterns as real and predictable as the changing of the seasons. The warning signs are not vague prophecies. They are clear and undeniable for anyone willing to see them. The voices of experience are not speaking in riddles. They are calling out with clarity, urging those who will listen to prepare. There is no shame in being cautious. There is no weakness in preparing for the unknown. Those who act now will not regret it no matter what comes. They will stand firm while others fall. They will have options when others have none. They will move forward while others are left struggling to survive. They will not be consumed by fear because they will know they have done everything they could to prepare. But those who delay, those who ignore, those who wait, what will they have? What will they say when they realize their chance is gone? What will they do when they find themselves unprepared, left to suffer the consequences of their own inaction? What will they tell their families when the resources they assumed would always be there are gone? The weight of responsibility is heavy, but it is far lighter than the weight of regret. To act now is to take control of your own future, to make the hard choices today so that you are not left with impossible choices tomorrow. It is to embrace reality instead of denying it, to listen instead of ignoring, to prepare instead of waiting for the world to change on its own. Not everyone will make this choice. Not everyone will see what is coming. Not everyone will have the courage to act before it is too late. But those who do, the few who listen, the few who prepare, the few who take the warnings seriously, will stand strong when the storm arrives. They will not be broken by the weight of what is coming. They will be ready